Okay, pause a second while I think of intro for this. I want to have these timed out to be like 45-minute or so episodes, so this is easier than figuring it out later. We are the loneliest lone wolf there ever was wolfed. Welcome back to Congresswolf, and we have ourselves in quite a predicament. We've fended off what we presume to be Jonas, but we did not actually kill him. There's another murder committed, presumably by the same militant werewolf, and on top of it all, in the process of saving Thomas from undue suspicion and arrest, we have completely botched our relationship with Abby. Well, on the bright side, there's always the internal drudgery of the campaign. So, let's get back to it. New tricks. Yeah, our rollover wasn't good enough for her, indeed. Summer's winding to a close, and you're staring at the home stretch of the campaign, this time, the time when voters really wake up and start paying attention to the fact that there's an election going on. You've worked hard to get this far, sacrificed your time, energy, and any chance of a normal social life, but you know that from here on out it only gets harder. One wrong step could prove the end of this campaign, the end of Nirmal's congressional career, and maybe the end of your own career. No pressure, you think to yourself, sitting on your couch before the sun is even up. You open your laptop and bring up the latest budget discussion. All of your campaign programs are currently fully funded, but with only $40,000 in the bank, the future is murky. We'll need strong fundraising numbers. Yeah, we'll write strong fundraising numbers to continue spending at this level, Soonley writes. It might be prudent to reassess budgetary priorities. All right, spending goals. Misfit Kitten, feel free to take a cat nap. We'll see you in a minute. Let's see, finance spending. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I think at this point we're going to cancel the volunteer recruitment program, leave the precinct captain program going. I worry that if I cancel this, I won't be able to go to the other fundraising. And unfortunately, this is not a game where you can rewind or save state. So I'm going to keep that like it is. And I can't do anything else. So we got $5,000 in. That's going to be nowhere near enough to cover what Candace needs. But yeah, I think we're just going to end up. I think we're just going to end up getting the shaft from every angle. The sun is finally peeking above the horizon when you get to the office. Ashante corners you as soon as you're in the door. Did you see Goodpenny's new thing? She demands. What new thing? You haven't had time yet this morning to do more than browse the national headlines. She wants a debate. Oh no. As the incumbent, Nirmal would naturally prefer to avoid debating Goodpenny if all possible. A debate would only lend legitimacy and free press to his challenger while giving Nirmal a free roll at saying something stupid on live TV. To be fair, every politician says something stupid on live TV. But the media is quick to excoriate any candidate who tries to wiggle out of a debate once it's been proposed, and weeks of being all but called a coward in the press won't wear well with the voters. Okay, I don't know if they mentioned that or not before. We can't afford to tell her no, can we? Not easily, Ashanti says. We'd get slaughtered in the press for it. She taps her pen against her chin. We can probably make her let us choose the format if we respond quickly enough. A prime-time, largely scripted event moderated by a popular local TV anchor. A town hall debate where you each take questions from the public. A mixed event allowing pre-screened squirt. Mike Tyson sends you pre-screened questions from the public as well as more scripted questions. Good God Almighty. Diode, what do you think? Oh, you said 1. I'm sorry. Rick, what do you think? Well, if I'm the one speaking for him, Misfit, no, he definitely isn't. Squip that shit. Okay, so we got either 1 or 2. Yeah, if we're going to botch it, let's botch it big. Let's stay traditional, you say. Podiums, time clocks, the works. Maybe we can get what's-her-name, the Live at 5 anchor, to moderate. Sure, I know her, Ashanti says. What's her name, Phillips? Old friend. Let me make some calls. Nirmal swears up and down that he's not dodging you on debate prep, but it's taken 3 times to make this appointment with him, and now he's 15 minutes late. You've nearly decided to pack it in and make yet another call to his assistant when he finally blows through the door. Sorry, he says. I had to deal with some Democratic Party business and it took longer than I expected. By now you know better than to object. Are you ready to start working on your debate chops, you ask instead. Sure, Nirmal says. What's up first? Let's start with the bad news, you say. One of the things we need to work on avoiding is your tendency to ramble. Relevant anecdotes are great, but the key is relevant and brief. Come off as arrogant. Voters like confidence, but arrogance is a huge turnoff. Lose your temper. Righteous anger is fine when kept in check, but no one likes a thin-skinned candidate. Oh, not a problem, Rick. Arrogant, rambling, temper losing. Okay. Well, Diode, you got to be the tie, so he was born a rambling man. You know, I was just talking to the HHS, Health and Human Services secretary about that the other day. My mother actually worked for Health and Human Services for a long time. Nirmal says, she said the funniest thing about it, he cuts himself off and laughs sheepishly. I'm doing it again, aren't I? You nod. We're going to have to train that out of you, or else you'll run out of time on every question before you have a chance to make your point. Okay, fine, Nirmal says. I see your point. He makes a zipping motion in front of his mouth. It's not all bad news, though, you say, seeing the doubt that started to creep in around Nirmal's eyes. You've got some debate weaknesses, but you've got some real strengths also. Strengths we need to work on reinforcing, like staying on message. You're great at turning a gotcha question into an opportunity to push your own points. Making people feel heard. People believe that you're really listening to them, that you understand their problems. Thinking fast on your feet. You always have a ready response to any question. With a roll-up newspaper. Make him sniff the podium. Making people feel heard. People believe you're really listening to them when you ramble. No, that would be for Rita. So I need to get up on stage and tell the voters that I feel their pain, Nirmal muses. Not tell them, you say, show them. Yeah, we tried that before. All right, Nirmal says, I can do that. You practice for several hours, throwing question after question at Nirmal and critiquing his responses until at last he throws up his sentences. He throws up his sentences. I read ahead a little bit, and like, he's like, I believe you'll be. And the sentence comes back down like, you're never going. Jeez. Until at last he throws up his hands in defeat. Enough, he cries, laughing. I'm so tired I can hardly keep a sentence straight in my head anymore. Neither can I. I'm right there with you, Nirmal. This is nothing compared to what it'll be like when you get up there under the bright lights, you say. I know, he says. I have done this before, you know, but for now I've had enough. We still need to talk about a couple of things, you say. You know they're going to ask you about how you'll be voting on the werewolf rights bill. Nirmal sighs. I guess there's no avoiding it, is there? He says. What do you think I should say? Make my policy for me. Why not? You should vote no and say it's because of the risk werewolves pose to normal humans. You should say you're voting yes because of your strong commitment to civil rights, that you're against the bill because it's too soft on werewolves who commit crimes. Come out in favor of the bill because the current state of affairs is unfair. Okay. Werewolves in the front of the bus. Got it. No, we just have to build a kennel fence. And yes, Rick, it'd be a kennel from hell. That's exactly why I've struggled with this vote all along, Nirmal says. These are persuasive arguments on both sides, but in the end, human rights are human rights, and werewolves are human beings with a disease. We need to help them, not ostracize them. Perfect, you say. Now let's try you on a couple of responses you might get from Goodpenny. The time allotted for your debate practice is drawing to a close. The frequency with which Nirmal checks his phone is approaching the obsessive. We're nearly done for the day, you say. I'm afraid I have some homework for you, though. Nirmal groans theatrically. Okay, he says, lay it on me. You pull out a sheaf of paper. I'm going to need you to memorize this, you say, handing him the top couple of pages. Nirmal smirks a little to himself when he reads it. You find yourself mirroring his smirk. The details of the shady business deal Sydney found for you, with its mix of sex and corruption, is just too perfect, and no one in the media has turned it up yet. So who's been peddling this dirt? Nirmal asks with a sly smile. You allow your smile to broaden slightly. We have some very talented interns on staff, you say. Oh, it just implicates Sydney. Why the hell not? A few weeks and many prep situations... shit. Take two. A few weeks and many prep sessions later, the debate finally arrives. The candidates stride out onto the stage under the bright lights and TV cameras and take their places behind the podiums. Wow, what's her name from Live at 5? It turns out her name is Mindy Martinez. Well, I was partially off. Introduces them. A quick rundown of the rules follows, and then they're off to the races. The first question is about the best way to bring more jobs to the district. Nirmal looks smooth and unruffled as he replies, that's a very good question. Let me tell you the 3 things I would do. Goodpenny smiles like a shark while she's listening to Nirmal's answer. When it's her turn, she says, I think my opponent has forgotten a few key things about the people of this district, and then the battle is joined in earnest. When Nirmal whips out the story of Goodpenny's shady business dealings, you could hear a pin drop in the dead silence that falls over the room, and you could fry an omelet in the heat of the seething rage on Goodpenny's face. Nirmal delivers a solid performance. He's cool and self-possessed even while answering the toughest questions, although he does go off the rails a few times, letting Goodpenny drive him off message and into the sort of personal attacks that leave neither party looking good. Shark versus werewolf. Coming to sci-fi. Yeah. Afterward, the pundits' responses are mixed, although most people agree that Nirmal won. It wasn't a decisive victory, though, one of them says to nods all around. You're more than ready to put the debate behind you, but the world has other ideas. The morning after the debate, you wake up and turn on the news to see Nirmal's face. Ordinarily, you'd consider that a good thing, but the Chiron? Really? And Chiron, is that how it's pronounced? Below it reads, Debate gaffe gains steam. You turn up the volume with a sinking feeling in your stomach, racking your brain to try to figure out what they could be talking about. Well, now, I'm not talking about letting one marry my daughter, Nirmal says, on every network channel, over and over. Oh, Christ. It's a total disaster. There are easily 3 times as many protesters outside the office this morning as there were the day before the debate. The news shows won't shut up about it. Will Nirmal apologize for his intemperate remarks? How long will he wait before issuing a statement? Is that how he really feels about werewolves? Many things you do are wrong, yeah. It's nearly impossible, well, even in real politics, it's nearly impossible to get things, right 50% of the time. Yeah. The rare few people can do it, but I don't know. I get the feeling that I don't know if that was said in the debate or that was said after the debate. You turn off the TV and open your laptop to find an email from Ashanti. We have to respond and fast, she says. Our options as I see them are below. Let me know your thoughts. We could simply apologize. It might seem as weak in some corners, but we can try to get some high-octane backup behind the podium with Lefty to cover us there. If you don't want to apologize, we could just stonewall and say he misspoke. Folks will still be angry, but it might all die down in a day or two. Or we double down. Yes, Lefty said that, and what's more, he meant it. Make them meet us on our own ground. Finally, we could try to change the subject. I've got several very nice gotcha quotes from Goodpenny's performance last night that we can try to get the media to bite on instead. Oh, boy. I'm not talking about letting one hump my leg. Despite your very best groveling, the werewolf rights activists are adamant. They know Nirmal is no particular friend of theirs, and they're not about to give him political cover on his nasty comments about them. Nirmal is reduced to taking the stage alone to plead his case. My words were intemperate and ill-considered, he says, looking much smaller than usual in front of the sea of microphones. Overall, things turn out better than you expected. The furor dies down after a day or two, and with Ashanti's help, you're able to get the press redirected onto a new story after that. I break out silver bullets. My daughter doesn't like it. Oh boy. Nirmal doesn't come out of the whole thing covered in glory, but he isn't covered in mud either, and that's something. As summer winds down, the nights are getting longer, both on the clock and for the campaign. You're spending longer and longer hours at the office and somehow still bringing piles of work home with you. You know it's all going to catch up with you sooner or later. You just hope that you'll be able to keep it together until after Election Day. Oh, next chapter. I see a brand new chapter. Bad moon rising. There's a slight nip of fall in the air, and the sun's not fully up when your alarm goes off at 2 early o'clock. You wrap yourself in a blanket on the couch, blinking blearily at your laptop screen while you wait for your coffee to finish brewing. It's just not possible for one person to have gotten this many emails and only, you check the time, 7 hours, is it? You scroll through them, sorting them into unimportant, will respond later, read now, and not before coffee. Seeing the next email in your inbox, you briefly ponder reclassifying Lee's. I actually called her Soon Yi. Soon Lee's fiscal updates as not before coffee, until you picture the expression you'd see on her face if she found out you were delaying your all-important spending decisions by even a few minutes. Mentally conceding defeat, you open the email. Your budget is on track, for now, but a dip in fundraising could leave you scrambling to cut programs and balance the campaign's checkbook. If you think you might like to change spending priorities, now is the time. Okay, let's take a look. It's exactly the same as it was. Same as it ever was. And look where my hand was. Finance isn't going up. Neither is field spending. Can't get the polling. I'm done with the budget. Well, I actually managed to make that work. Swallowing the dregs of your coffee, you put your laptop away and start getting dressed for work. The calendar in your bedroom wall catches your eye with its big red circle around next Friday night, the full moon. Is Nirmal a werewolf? You still don't know one way or another, and you've never gotten up the guts to ask him straight out. You resolve to keep a close eye on him over the coming week for signs of strange behavior. Okay, here's a solution. You have the silver bullets. Shoot him, and if he dies, he's a werewolf. And if you shoot him and he dies slower, then he wasn't. With your thoughts swirling around the full moon and all its implications, you're halfway to the office on autopilot when your phone rings. Have you seen this shit? Ashanti demands without preamble. You do your best to collect your thoughts. Assume I haven't, you say. Ashanti's clearly pissed. This new ad of good pennies, she hisses. They're really throwing the kitchen sink at us. We need to respond. You take a deep breath. What's the ad about? Ashanti groans with theatrical outrage. What isn't it about? They've got that shady cousin of Lefty's with the lottery scam, the property tax screw-up on the lake house, even his vote on the Masted Schooner Act. Okay, let's all take a break, and we know what happened with the Masted Schooner Act. Nirmal does not go fishing on anything other than canoes, cigarettes, and dinghies. That could have been a good joke if I didn't bumble over it so much. Ah, good God. Oh yeah, I forgot about the garlic thing. Okay, breathe, you say. What can we do to respond? I know you've already got a plan for me. I've already got statements drafted about the specific accusations, Ashanti said, but we need to get a response on the air as soon as possible. I can do that, you say. I'll get on the phone to Divya as soon as I'm in the office. You hang up, already contemplating the form Nirmal's response should take. Stay factual and talk about the issues. Sling mud about good pennies past, the nastier the better. Leak nasty rumors to the press. Yeah, In all honesty, I don't know who we would have leaked the rumors to, because our main press link was Abby. Okay. We're getting down and dirty, folks. Break out the monster trucks. Ooh, we're getting dirty, are we? Divya sounds excited by the prospect. Hopefully not too much, good God. Just give me a couple of hours to get with my creatives, and I'll get back to you with a range of options. As promised, she calls back almost exactly 2 hours later. Here's what we're thinking, she says. Watching the Detectives is a Elvis Costello song, is full of insinuations that Good Penny is about to be indicted for something. It's full of accusations that she's too cozy with entirely too many big money interests. Next we've got Not Like You and Me. It's a real millionaire showcase of all Good Penny's fancy digs. The vacation, house in Bermuda, the yacht, the sports cars, guaranteed to inspire jealousy-motivated hatred in at least 4 out of 10 voters. Finally, Turn Tail and Run implies that Good Penny's military career stories are all lies. According to our sources, every time she even came close to combat, she had her friends in high places intervene to get her reassigned. She's watching the Detectives. But she can't be wounded because she's got no heart. Okay, Turn Tail and Run. I like Turn Tail and Run, also appropriate. I like the sound of Turn Tail and Run. You chuckle at the thought of the apoplexy Jude will have seeing the ad. Let's use that one. Great, Divya chirps. I'll have a rough clip over to you this afternoon. You can't please all the people all the time. This ad wins you big kudos with the people who matter in the Democratic Party, but it gets you pilloried in the media. You're tempted to call up every 2-bit blogger with a snarky hot take on your clip to yell at them, but Ashanti convinces you that discretion is the better part of valor. Okay, see you in a minute, Gooberslot. Hope that gets fixed. You pick up your phone and see dozens of missed calls. This can't be good. As you scroll through the names, you sense that something must be wrong. Your sense that something must be wrong increases. It reads like a who's who of local news names with even a smattering of national names sprinkled in. Oh boy. You poke your head out into the main office and ask around, but no one knows what's going on. That almost worries you more. Resigning yourself being blindsided by whatever it is, you mentally rank the reporters in your relevant calls and pick the one who's friendliest to Nirmal to call back first. She fills you in, but she refuses to cut you any slack when it comes time to release a considered planned response. I'm sorry, Riley, but either you can give me a quote now or I can go to press time without one, she says. Everything's thoroughly corroborated. I can back it all up with sources. Of all the scandals you could have predicted, this one wasn't it. A blogger claims to have found evidence that several of Nirmal's speeches were plagiarized. Right. Unexpected or not, this is the kind of accusation that can sink a political career, to say nothing of a re-election campaign. You need to do something to get out in front of this story, and fast. Well, yeah. Hey, they said can. Do whatever it takes to spike this story with the press. Do whatever you can to protect the campaign and Nirmal. Do your best to limit the fallout among the voters. Okay. Protect the campaign and Nirmal. I read that as fuck Nirmal in your ass. Okay. Alright, well, number 2 is what we're going with. You assemble a war room around the conference table. Nirmal isn't there in person, but he does call in. I've already drafted a press release disavowing that you had any knowledge of the alleged plagiarism, sir. This phone call will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Ashanti says, Melanie is taking full responsibility. Melanie is, or was until today, Nirmal's main speechwriter. You cringe at what this is going to do to her career, but if what Nirmal says is true, and of course you believe him, she committed one of the few politically unforgivable sins. And not just once, but at least 3 times that the press has found so far. Try to be as kind toward Melanie as you can, you say to Ashanti, more in sorrow than in anger, etc. Let's see. The scandal hits you and Nirmal where it hurts hard. The press is relentless, and Nirmal and others on the campaign start to crack under the pressure. Every new embarrassing off-the-cuff statement or unintentional leak just serves to fuel the fire. By the time it all dies down, you feel like you've been through the ringer more than once. This hurt us, Ashanti tells you when it's finally all over. A lot. The werewolf rights vote is a week away, and all the whip counts you're hearing have it too close to call with a handful of holdouts still undecided. Now that Nirmal has staked out such a public position on the bill, losing the vote could prove embarrassing, which is why Nirmal has asked you to consider ways you and the campaign can turn the tide. We can call up some of Nirmal's fellow members of Congress and twist their arms. Let's see what we can do to drum up support in the press. Everybody has a few skeletons in their closets, and that includes the folks on the wrong side of this vote. Let's use that. Goober? Oh, God, you're going to make me choose. I can't make decisions. I'm a president. We can call up some of Nirmal's fellow members of Congress and twist their arms, or everybody has a few skeletons. Okay. I'm thinking we went dirty and it backfired on us tremendously, so we got to try and do things the right way. Congressional arm twisting may sound muscular and powerful, but the reality is a lot more boring, not least because no person actually elected to Congress is going to take your phone call to hear a pitch about why they should vote one way or another on a bill. In practice, all the arms you twist belong to chiefs of staff, if you're lucky. It doesn't take long for all this work on the bill to seem like, well, work. You start to worry that you could end up throwing away too much political capital on this bill if you're not careful. Betting high to win feels great, but losing big could cost you more than just a handful of chips. You realize that it's time to decide just how much you want to throw in your political fortunes with this vote. Pedal to the metal. This is the most important vote of the year, and winning it could pay off just as much as losing could hurt us. Let's stick to the middle of the road. This vote is worth fighting for, but I don't want to take too much of a risk. Keep it low-key. I thought it said normal. Nirmal can't afford to waste political capital on a vote like this. Fuck them werewolves. Straight ahead into the brick wall, huh? Okay. Oh, there's the wall again. With the election this close, it feels almost exhilarating to take this sort of chance, but your gut tells you it's the right choice, and on a coin flip like this, you're inclined to trust it. Later that afternoon, your phone rings and you groan to see that it's Seth Tanner. Hoping that whatever it is will only require a brief conversation, you pick up the phone. Listen, Riley, Tanner barks immediately. I'm sorry, Tanner barks immediately. I don't know what kind of game you and Lefty think you're playing, but you better knock it off. I'm sorry? You're honestly not sure what he could be so mad about. Luckily, he wastes no time filling you in. The werewolf rights bill, he growled. I've heard about how you're running all over town drumming up votes for it. You never realized Tanner was so strongly opposed to lycanthrope rights. Rough. Still, now that you know, you've got to tell him something. Passionately defend Nirmal's position, promise to try to change Nirmal's mind, angle for a little quid pro quo. Yeah, that's all Congress is, just a bunch of snarling back and forth. Okay. We're not only putting it into full gear, we're throwing the nitros. It works, sort of. Tanner lets you get about 30 seconds into your impassioned speech before he cuts you off. Yeah, Riley, he says. Look, I don't have time to sit around arguing with you. I don't care that much about the bill anyway. Tell Lefty I said hello. Then he hangs up, leaving you staring at your phone in confusion. When the vote comes, you tune in to C-SPAN to watch the roll call. It's down to the wire, but in the end, the Wolves win out. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding when the 218th aye vote is called, just 3 votes from the end of the roll call. Next to you, Ashanti slumps in relief with a matching sigh. A few minutes later, you get an email from Nirmal. Exciting vote, huh? I wouldn't have let you know we were winning, but the whip counts showed it could go either way right up until the end. Or I would have let you know, rather. Thanks for all your hard work on this, Riley. Who's he again? He was one of the town bigwigs who owned the local shopping mall. So he had he was like one of the big donor connections. I would have let you know, but I'm a dick. Specifically, a canine dick. Beyond the professional implications of this victory, you're pleased on a personal level. You're proud to have been involved in the battle to improve the lot of the lycanthrope community, and it feels good to know that you've helped the lives of so many people. Great risks come with great rewards, and you spend the next several days reaping yours. Between the constant media requests for glowing softball interviews with Nirmal and the party cred you've amassed by throwing so much weight at the werewolf rights bill, you can hardly turn around without someone congratulating you on your brilliance. By the time Friday rolls around, you feel like a shadow of your former self. The last thing you're prepared for is the silhouette of a full moon on your weather app when you wake up. Just the sight of it takes you back to the night when Jonas chased you. With a shudder, you push away the thoughts of what you'd be going through right now if he had caught you. But the full moon brings with it a decision, a chance to take matters into your own hands and get answers to some of the questions that have been plaguing you throughout this campaign. I want to stake out Nirmal tonight. Maybe I can find out once and for all whether he's a werewolf or not. I want to look for Jonas. I want to get a look at what werewolves are really like. Yeah, very true. Ooh. Oh, 1. Okay. I'm watching my monitor from a distance. I thought it was 17 instead of 1 and a question mark. Okay, we're going to stake out Nirmal. Nirmal lives in a neat little house in the suburbs. You tell the taxi driver you're visiting a friend and have her drop you off 2 blocks away half an hour before sundown. No one seems to be home when you get to the house. You find a spot to hide in some bushes across the street and wait. Just before sunset. Yeah, but Rick, that wheel is flat. And you know what else? Let's see. Just before shit, where was I? God damn it! You find a spot to hide in some bushes across the street and wait. It's hard watching the chat and reading this and reading the chat and. Just before sunset, your patience is rewarded. Another taxi pulls up to the curb and Nirmal gets out. He hurries into the house where you can follow his progress from room to room because he helpfully leaves only one light on at a time. When Nirmal stops, the light is coming from a small window near the ground, a basement room. The sort you might fortify with bars or silver shackles, you think, as you cross the street and creep closer to the house. Behind you, the sun has set, but the moon hasn't peeked over the horizon yet. The sun has come down and the moon has come up, and long ago somebody left with the cup. Like you're reading the same sentence over and over. You're going the distance. You're going for werewolves. You're almost to the window when headlights stab through the darkness. Yeah, a car turning into Nirmal's driveway. You scuttle for the cover of some shrubbery and find the Knights of Knee there and watch as Nirmal's husband gets out. He's agitated and clearly in a hurry to get into the house, fumbling with his keys and dropping them twice before he manages to get the door open. He slams it behind him. More cars drive past, and it's several minutes before you're able to sneak up to the basement window again. The moon is rising quickly. Just as you reach the window, the light shining out of it is extinguished, but a beam of moonlight streams in through the glass. Inside, curled up on the concrete floor and wearing what are very clearly shackles, is a huge wolf. You can't help staring, frozen in shock. Somehow, even while you were coming up with this plan, even while you were staking out Nirmal's house, you never expected to find this. I don't know for sure it's him, a voice of reason points out in your head. And the voice is right, it could be his husband or one of their kids. But that would be nearly as big a scandal if it came out. Why didn't he tell me about this? And while you're standing there arguing with yourself, the wolf lifts its head and looks you directly in the eye. And just like that, you've had enough. You're halfway down the block, phone out to call another taxi before you even know you're moved. Back home, it takes an hour and 2 drinks to calm yourself down. This is the end of the campaign. There's no way Nirmal can hide something like this and win. I wouldn't have cared if Nirmal had only told me at the beginning. I don't know how I can keep working for him now. I'm afraid to be in the same room as Nirmal after this. Okay. Ugh. We are not very loyal to our lupine companion. Okay. Right up front at the beginning of the campaign, you looked Nirmal in the eye and told him that you needed to know all of his skeletons before you started to work for him. And if Nirmal or a member of his family is a werewolf, that definitely counts as a skeleton. He looked you in the eye and told you everything was fine, and it's not. It's not even about your feelings on werewolves. It's a question of trust and of full disclosure. But it's simply just a matter of trust. Still, the election is looming, and if you quit in a huff now, it will look worse for you than for Nirmal, unless you go public with your reasons for quitting. You examine your inner thoughts and find you're not willing to blow up a congressional campaign over this. Not quite yet, anyway. Yeah, he's buried them all in the backyard. There's no such thing as a weekend at this stage in a political campaign, especially for the manager, but after Friday night shenanigans, you're forced to admit that you need some time to recover and to think about everything that's happened. On Saturday morning, you call in sick, drag your comforter over to your couch, and spend the day stretched out on your back, answering emails and writing memos because, sick day or no, time in the news cycle won't wait for you to get yourself together. Next chapter. I'm sorry I hurt you, leader of the pack. The final week of a campaign is always the hardest. Your plans are in place, and yet there's still so much left to do to ensure that they're executed properly. And on top of that, there's the waiting. Election day is so close and yet so far away. We believe in tomorrow, maybe stuck in today. With a week left to go, you're out the door a full hour earlier than usual in a bid to catch up before the trains are running. You know that your last-minute planning can't account for much, but restless hope is enough to keep you working the phone all day long. Whenever you're not frantically answering emails, that is. Late in the afternoon, you're finishing up a memo and thinking about running out to grab some dinner. In the next room, you can hear the murmur of voices. Sydney, standing in as a pretend TV news anchor, is helping Nirmal rehearse talking points for an upcoming interview. As you close your laptop, you realize that your office phone's voicemail light is blinking. Almost everyone calls your cell, even when it's campaign business. So you're half expecting a robotic pitch for herbal supplements or something similar. Instead, you're startled to be greeted by the grating voice of a werewolf you know all too well. Riley, Jonas says, I've got something to tell you. Something you definitely want to hear. Meet me at the gates to Howlback Forest, tonight at 6. Come alone. You glance at your phone. It's 5:30 now. That's barely enough time to make it, even if you hurry. Call for backup first. I'm not foolhardy enough to go out there alone, whatever Jonas says. Tell Nirmal where I'm going. Tell Sydney where I'm going. I don't dance to Jonas's tune. This election is too important to risk on whatever he's got planned. Okay, well, since you say 1 or 4, then we're going 1. RoboCop, you called for backup. You want Jonas to think you're alone, but you remember what happened the last time you ran into him, and you're not about to walk into something like that. You know just the person to call, too. Jude, Thomas, or Abby. Thomas it is, then. Thomas's phone goes straight to voicemail, which is probably for the best since he tried to talk you out of this. You leave a message explaining what's going on, asking him to meet you at the forest gates. The last rays of sunlight are rapidly fading from the sky as you walk up the forest gates, and under the overhanging boughs of the trees near the fence, it's already nearly dark. It's a few minutes after 6, but Jonas is nowhere to be seen. Then you hear a low voice call out to you from inside the gates. Come here. You peer through the gathering gloom to see a figure standing just inside. Jonas is shorter than you remember and dressed in jeans and a black hoodie. I wasn't sure you'd come, he says as you approach. Werewolf on werewolf action? Not in this case. Well, I came. Now tell me why I'm here. I wasn't sure you'd show either. I guess you're less of a coward than I thought. I came to try to convince you to turn yourself in. I don't want any trouble. I came to see if we can work this out. The universal question, why are we here? I told you to stop digging around in my business, Jonas says. You didn't stop. I thought it was time we had another conversation about it. I warned you to back off. Why would I take orders from a killer like you? I'm hardly the only werewolf who was around, Maggie, Jonas says with a little sneer. All those protesters, and maybe there was someone even closer too, someone she saw every day. Did you just imply that he knows that Nirmal is a werewolf? You don't take the bait. I'm through listening to you, you say. You couldn't handle the fact that Maggie left you, so you decided to do something about it, didn't you? Stop saying I killed her. Jonas sounds really angry now, but you don't stop. And when she wouldn't take you back because she saw you for the monster you really are. Jonas's face twists into a snarl of rage, and he leaps at you, arms outstretched. Oh boy. Well, he baited us pretty good. And we baited him just exactly likely. You try to dodge out of the way, but you're not fast enough. You go down immediately, and Jonas lands on top of you, pinning you down. He presses his advantage, punching you in the face over and over as you struggle to get out from under him. You manage to scrabble up a fistful of dirt and pine needles and lob it at his face, making him flinch away violently, giving you the chance to throw him off and scuttle backward out of his reach. You're about to get to your feet and run away, but that's when he pulls the knife. You freeze at the sight of the long, wicked-looking blade, and Jonas grins. With a sudden lunge forward, he seizes your ankle in an iron grip, yanking your feet back out from under you. "I think I'm going to enjoy this," he says, raising the knife. Something hard digs into your hip, and that's when you remember the gun. "I'm really lucky that didn't go off," you think, yanking it out of your waistband. The sight of the gun makes Jonas let go of your ankle and jerk back, raising his hands defensively. You scramble to your feet, trying to keep the gun pointed at Jonas. "Drop the knife," you tell him. "I won't miss this time." "Hey, kids, point me at bad guys and I'll make them go away." He drops it immediately. "Let's talk about this," Jonas says shakily. He turns and runs off into the trees. "Shoot him. He's attacked me twice now. He's obviously dangerous. Shoot, but aim high. Let him think I just missed. Don't shoot." "Shoot her! Shoot him!" Okay. Shooting, but aiming high. And then we knock off a branch covered in garlic that falls on him and kills him. The crack of the gun is deafening, much louder than you expected it to be. Jonas jerks with surprise and comes to a halt. "Don't move," you shout at him, struggling to keep your voice steady. Jonas turns to face you, hands in the air. "Don't shoot me," he says, his voice high-pitched and panicked. "Don't shoot me." You keep your gun trained on him as you approach. You're somewhat surprised to notice that your hands aren't shaking. "Stay where you are and I won't shoot you," you tell him. "What do you want?" he asks. You pull your phone out of your pocket with your free hand. We're just going to sit right here and wait for the police." It's only a minute or two before you hear a siren screaming. Soon you see Sergeant Evans and her partner running toward you. Bell's partner makes short work of taking Jonas into custody. You watch him wince as the silver handcuffs close around his wrists. "I hope it hurts a lot," you think viciously in his direction. Bell himself subjects you to a brief but fierce lecture about the dangers of taking the law into your own hands, but then finishes it off with a "Good work, Riley." So, no lesson learned at all. "We'd offer you a ride home," Bell says, "when you've exited the forest together, but I don't think you'd want to share the back seat with this guy." She jerks her head in Jonas's direction. "That's okay," you say. "How about calling a cab instead?" On the way home, you stare out the window, reflecting on the confrontation with Jonas. It takes you nearly an hour to catch a cab, and by the time you get home, you're nearly trembling with exhaustion. You're also jittering like a live wire, though, and you know you won't be able to sleep until you've had a chance to process everything that's happened. "I'm just relieved to be alive. I'm glad Jonas won't be able to hurt anyone else. I don't want to think about Jonas. I just want to win this election." We're glad he won't be able to hurt anyone else. You're sitting on You're sitting on your couch wrapped in a blanket and sipping a glass of whiskey when it hits you. You don't have to worry about Jonas anymore. No more threatening emails, no more late-night confrontations, and somehow that brings it all home. Somehow that brings it all home to just how much danger you were in. Suddenly your hands start to shake until you have to put the whiskey down to keep from spilling it. You force yourself to take deep breaths, even though it feels like someone just dropped an anvil on your chest. You let your hands shake as much as they want to. After a few minutes, the fear starts to subside, leaving you gasping and wrung out on the couch. "I didn't die. I'm still here." You pick up the whiskey again and take a sip. It's still hours before you're able to get to sleep. Yeah, pretty much. I've got some Go TV news for you. Okay. I have no idea what that means. Soon Lee says from the doorway to your office. With the election just a few days away, it's all over except for counting the votes and getting them out, of course. You've got workers and volunteers all over the district working their hearts out on getting the vote, knocking on doors and making phone calls to remind Nirmal supporters to vote. Every little bit counts, and a great GoTV operation can turn the tide in a close election. Oh, get out the vote. That's what that is. Good news or bad news, you ask? Good news, Soon Lee says with a smile. I just ran the numbers, and it looks like we'll have some extra cash to spend on GOTV. $40,000, as a matter of fact. So now you get to help me decide how to spend it. Hire vans to take voters to the polls. Just give out piles of cash for neighborhood leaders to use as they see fit. Go on the air with a closer ad to fire up Nirmal supporters. Ask the Democratic Party for help. Okay, closer ad. Ads are easy to commission but hard to pay for. Their reach depends on how much you've got to spend. You're lucky enough to have a perfect closer ad already shot and ready to go. Now it's time to see if you can afford it to get in front of enough eyeballs to make a difference. Election day is frenetic, yo-yoing bounce from phone call to meeting to conference call. All day long, you're checking in nonstop with field stuff, constantly prodding them for updates on get out the vote operations, polling place lines, and other tea leaf raids. Tonight there'll be a watch party with an open bar and patriotic confetti, but tonight isn't coming nearly soon enough by your lights. The time ticks down to 7 p.m. when polls close in the district, and there is finally literally nothing at all you can do but wait for the results to come in. You tell the rest of the office staff to go on ahead to the party, then spend some time sending a few last emails and packing up. Hi, Husa, welcome! Good to see you. You're just in time for election night results. A sound makes you look up to see Nirmal standing in the doorway. Coming, he asks with a smile. You and I ought to put in an appearance early on. Stream of confidence and all that. A beat. It's time to go see if there'll still be a werewolf in Congress come January. It takes a second for what he just said to sink in. He laughs at the expression on your face. Oh, come on, Riley. You can't tell me you didn't know. I'm upset Nirmal didn't tell me earlier. I needed to know this in order to do my job. What if this had come out during the campaign? There's no way I could have dealt with the media firestorm without any warning. Knowing this makes me dislike werewolves more. I trusted Nirmal and he lied to my face. I feel more positively towards werewolves knowing this. Nirmal being a werewolf makes it more personal to me. Okay. What if this had come out during the campaign? Achievement. Gotta win them all. Win the election with all 4 candidates. Okay, yeah, as you can tell, I played this a lot, and I had maybe 4 or 5 achievements left, so thanks for helping me get another one. Honestly, I wasn't sure, you say. I don't think it's very funny either. What if this had come out in the press during the campaign? I would have been totally blindsided without a plan to deal with it. Nirmal sombers at that. Maybe I should have told you from the beginning, he says. I'm just so used to hiding it from everyone, it's second nature by now. I'm sorry. You wave a hand dismissively. Never mind, it's in the past now. You point toward the door. Let's go see if you still have a congressional seat. Well, according to the achievement, we do. The watch party is jumping, and at least as much as congressional election results party ever is. A party. You grab a drink and a plate of hors d'oeuvres and sidle over to Abby, who's covering the event for the Star. It took some groveling, but you think she's finally forgiven you for burning her source when Thomas was arrested. So when can we sneak out of here and hit up a real bar instead, you mutter in her ear. Let's go now, Abby says, wide-eyed. God, I hate covering these things. How are you staying awake? Sheer adrenaline, you say. As soon as we get the results, I'll probably collapse into a puddle. Luckily, it's only a few minutes later that the countdown bells chime, announcing that the polls have closed and the crowd's attention is redirected into watching the results come in. It's close, but in the end, Nirmal pulls through. Polls have been closed for hours, and half the election party-goers have gone home when the networks finally call it. Laxman Nirmal defeats Faith Goodpenny, John Arbuckle, and Garfield, and Odie, 55% to 45%. My blood is over 75% coffee. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Rick. The depleted crowd cheers in approval, and the DJ cues up the victory song. Ah, ooh, werewolves of London. You rip your lungs out, Jim. I'd like to meet the Congressman's tailor. Nirmal stops on his way to the stage to shake your hand. We did it, Riley, he says. I know Maggie would be proud of you. His husband Amal comes up, holding the hands of their 2 children. Speech, he reminds Nirmal with a fond smile. Thank you, sir, you say. Now get up on that stage and wow him with that speech like we practiced. The watch party's over. The last of the guests are trailing out of the room. Did he actually get to make the speech? As soon as he started talking, everybody bailed out. I don't know. We got a few more things here. Maybe we'll find out. The The last of the guests are trailing out of the room, and the cleaners have started to chase down the streamers and balloons. You find yourself feeling oddly deflated. Usually after an election, win or lose, you're fired up, ready to move on to the next thing. But you've been so busy that you haven't had time to line up a next thing. So what now? A cough interrupts your reverie. You turn to see Nirmal standing in the doorway. Next to him is Solitude standing in the doorway. Sydney said you were still in here, he says. Listen, Riley, do you have a new gig lined up yet? It's funny you should ask, you say. I was just thinking of how unusual it was that I don't have one yet. I was hoping you could consider coming to join my office in D.C., he says. I have an opening for a chief of staff. Your breath catches. It's an unexpected offer and a tempting one. Chiefs of staff get to rub elbows with the movers and shakers on Capitol Hill, making deals, twisting arms, and building a network of useful connections. The pay isn't incredible, but it can be a fast track to a cushy lobbying job or the groundwork for a political career of your own. Still, you find yourself unwilling to say yes, at least not right away. Thank you, Lefty, you say. Can I take some time to think about it and let you know in a day or two? You're glad you asked for that time because you wake up the next morning, your inbox is full of emails from people who want to employ you. and it's back to Love Bites. Everybody wants to offer us a job. So he lied about being a werewolf, won anyway, and an innocent woman was murdered, at least one. And you're thinking of working for a guy who lied to you and almost got you killed. Yeah, but, spiffs. One of the offers is from Their Wolves, the largest werewolf rights nonprofit in the country. They're looking for a sort of jack-of-all-trades based out of Los Angeles, someone who can be a polished media presence and who has the connections and political savvy to help them drive their agenda in Congress and in state legislators. Their salary offer isn't amazing, but it's enough to afford a slightly larger place, and you'd be helping to make the world a better place for werewolves. There's even an email from Abby taking up a position at the Star. It's in a completely different department, so there's no chance it'll be awkward, she assures you. The pay is peanuts, but it's a sure thing, and you've gotten sort of fond of the city. While you're totting up the list of job offers, there's a knock at your door. You open it, and there's Jude holding up a bottle of whiskey. No hard feelings? I brought the drinks. To fund employment, Jude toasts when you've poured a glass for each of you. To fund employment, you agree. After you've clinked glasses and sipped, you say, I seem to remember you mentioning that you had a new gig lined up already. Sort of, Jude said. I'm starting up my own consultancy. Griffin Strategies, I'm going to call it. Oh, great, now we have griffins and werewolves. Why not? Another sip. So what are you going to do next? I'm going to take the chief of staff job. I want to go to work for the werewolf nonprofit. I'll become a TV pundit. I'm going to move to D.C. and work for the lobbying firm. I want to take a job at the direct mail firm. I'm going to go work for the Democratic Party. I'm going to stay right here and work for the Star. I might be crazy, but I want to join your consultancy. Okay, so we have one for the werewolf nonprofit. We have one for the Star. She seems to have forgiven us, and she said it wouldn't be awkward, so I'm guessing we're giving it another try. Okay, so let's see. We have the chief of staff job. We have one for the werewolf nonprofit. We have one for the Star, and we have one for move to DC. Oh yeah, it is. Let's see. Okay, well that's an option. Okay, so I guess these are the only ones we actually got. So, okay. Alright, so chief of staff job, werewolf nonprofit, Democratic Party, or the Star. Four of the ones you can do, and Rick said the Star. So yeah, okay, we're going to do the Star and work with Abby. Riley's going native, huh? But I remember when you couldn't stand this place. Yeah, well, the city grows on you after a while, you say, looking away. Not just the city, I see. Jude leans forward. You really care about her, don't you? She's my best friend, you say. It's been nice to have her so close these last few months. Well, I hope you two crazy kids can make it all work out, says Jude with an airy wave of one hand. You wake up early the next morning, force of habit even though you have nowhere to be. You make a pot of coffee and settle yourself into a chair next to the window, looking down on the street and trying to suppress the uneasy urge that you should be checking the polls or balancing the campaign budget. The sun is a ball of molten gold just clearing the horizon, wreathed with a few wispy gilded clouds. It's going to be a beautiful day. Next chapter. Okay, we have another chapter. All dogs go to heaven. And I don't think we have a huge amount of time, but I'll leave it up to you all. Do you want to maybe we can do this in about 15 minutes. Does that work for you all? Do it, continue. Yeah, why the hell not? Okay, all dogs go to heaven. I like Stephen Colbert's line in his book, I Am American, So Can You. Side note, all dogs go to heaven? No, only dogs who've accepted Christ. You push open the door to the bar and stop for a moment, letting the clink of glasses and the hubbub of dozens of conversations wash over you. For a moment you struggle with a sudden reticence to go inside and join the crowd. I could just turn around and go home. You're late, your cowardly thoughts interrupted. You look up to see Jude standing at the door. Come in already. You almost missed my big speech, and I've been practicing it for weeks. You follow Jude inside where the Griffin Strategies first anniversary party is well underway. First anniversary party? Okay, so it's been a year now. At least. Jude leads you to a secluded corner near the bar and encourages you to order a drink. So, Riley, Jude says when you're settled, it's been a year since you won your first congressional campaign. The dad with the silver tongue is back in D.C. How's buying ink by the barrel 1 year in? Is the star fulfilling all your world domination dreams? It's been an education, you say honestly, but I think it's going well. Even Abby's curmudgeon of an editor seems to like me. Wait till I tell her what you said about the Oxford comma, Jude threatens. Hey, no fair. And our furry friends, the werewolves, Jude said. How is the lycanthrope community doing in the wake of the LRRA passing? It's made a huge difference for them, you say. Families not being broken up, not needing to hide from the authorities anymore. I think it's going to really turn things around for a lot of people. Next thing you know, we'll be electing them to Congress, Jude says, and then looks at you oddly when you choke on your drink. It's also been a year and a half since Maggie died, Jude observes. I heard her killer was convicted the other day. You saw the news, but in order to read the article, you had to scroll down until the picture of Jonas, in his orange jumpsuit and shackles, was off the screen. You couldn't shake the feeling that he was staring right at you. Life sentence, you say. At least he'll never be able to hurt anyone else. You give yourself a shake to get the memory of that picture out of your head. Let's not talk about him anymore. It's too bad things didn't work out between you and Abby, Jude said, but I suppose in the end you had to lead your own lives. Oh. You think about what could have been and feel your eyes start to burn with unshed tears. You look away until you're sure you've got your feelings back under control. Yeah, it's too bad, you agree. Well, I'm guessing because of that betrayal, it probably... Yeah, I that was probably something that weighed toward, what kind of ending you got, so, yeah, that sucks. You turn and survey the crowd. They're chattering away over their drinks and hors d'oeuvres, more than happy to drink up Griffin Strategies' open bar tab. Not bad for a Wednesday night, you observe. A toast, Jude declares suddenly, waving a half-full glass in the air. Riley, what are we drinking to? You consider the question for a long moment. Onward and upward, you say, raising your own glass. Onward and upward, Jude echoes, clinking glasses with you. I like it. Onward and upward. End. And I am very likely to recommend it, as I'm recommending it to all of you. And I'm not going to worry about that. I'll probably do that another time. Okay, so let's take a look at our stats here. So by the time the end of this was done, pretty much where we were the last time we checked the stats. Yeah. Yeah, well, we managed to get him elected, and we got y'all helped me get another achievement for that, so thank you. But yeah, very unsatisfactory. But I kind of figured the love was off the table after Abby tore us several new ones. But this is one of the many things that happen in here. I can tell you there are endings where the various political candidates win or lose. There are endings, I think there is an ending where you get killed. There is an ending where you end up getting bitten and becoming a werewolf yourself. There is an ending where you actually join F3, the militant werewolf group. So there are actually a lot of varieties into this, and this has always been a game I just really liked. So I thought perfect time to show it to everybody. It's only 16. Yeah. Well, so anyway, I want to thank you all out for coming out and registering your votes and making your howls heard. And just remember, we get to do all this again in a couple of years. So take care of yourselves in the meantime, and and also remember in the real world to get out and vote. Very, very important. Vote if you haven't voted. By mail, by absentee ballot, however you can do it, in person. Just don't go out voting on a full moon. Yeah. So take care of yourselves until we game again.